All right, so we'll officially start. Who is in attendance? Kristen, if you could.
Um, yep.
Are your technical
Just,
difficulties
yeah,
still?
no, I'm still struggling a little. I'm riding the struggle bus. I see Sean and we have Brian. Hi, Brian.
Hi.
And
Right.
Jenny, you and I are here, and Andy is moderating with our technical
Okay.
wonder.
Well, I know Lisa will not be joining us. She did email. We should see Rich and we
And
should see
Karen.
Karen. I didn't hear otherwise from either of them, so hopefully they'll hop on soon. But Kristen, how you doing with your technical difficulties?
I'm good. I'm back in action. I
Okay.
just had to adjust some settings and we're good. Now I can see everybody.
It's probably going to be a pretty short meeting because we don't have a heavy agenda. We don't have Andy Egmont with us tonight because she's committed to a program, a babysitting program that she was signed on to before she was assigned the ADA coordinator position. So she can't join us tonight, and I'm not sure about next month. I don't know how long the program runs. I haven't actually gotten a chance to ask for that, but hopefully next month she'll be with us with some updates. So unfortunately, we don't have anything from the city really to update. But we can start. So Kristen,
Yeah.
if you could read.
So we don't have any guests for introductions. We have approval of previous meeting minutes, which would have been October 8th.
And we can motion to approve.
Okay, I don't see.
Did you send them out?
I'm pretty certain that I did, because I think I did it before our last meeting, before realizing that our last meeting was canceled.
Right. Well, that was
So
a last minute thing. So
right, and that was my, I didn't get that email. It got buried somewhere, so that's fine. So if you want to, we can either approve or we can table that until the next round when we have everybody here and approve
maybe
October and December at the same time.
maybe you could resend out October with
Sure.
December,
Yep.
and then that way we can just all be.
Yeah, let's go
Okay.
that.
We'll table the minutes for now. Okay.
Perfect. We have other member, new business, or public comment.
Well, I guess I'll mention Rich. I was hoping he would be on. I'm not sure where he went, but he had sent me an email inquiring about whether or not there'll be any prioritization for people with disabilities for the COVID-19 vaccine.
Okay.
Which of course I don't know, but he went ahead and I told him to pursue it if he'd like. And he emailed our state rep, Jim Kelcourse, and also DeZoglio. Is that the name? Right? Yeah. And I think he got an email back from Jim who said he would look into it, but I don't have anything more than that in terms of anything else that he might have gotten back. And he's not here to speak on it, so unfortunately,
Okay.
But we can just make.
I'll just make a note of it. Yep. I have an update. I have a couple of updates related to items on our actual agenda. So if we want to just go with that. There was an email. I've been checking in periodically with Lacey Reed, and the grant from the Community Preservation Commission was not awarded to the accessible playground, inclusive playground. So that's the only update. I don't have any other details. I have connected with the CPAC, the Special Education Parent Advisory Commission. I attended the last meeting or two meetings. So I haven't really spoken up. I introduced myself at the beginning of the meeting as a parent and a community member and the secretary of the Commission on Disabilities. So I kind of just throw that out there as, you know, us wanting to collaborate and connect with them. They've had pretty packed agendas so far. So I think as we get into the new year, that'll be a good kind of segue into us working with them, which they
Okay,
are really super motivated, and they are just now getting, they rewrote a whole set of bylaws, and there seems that they're really getting some traction with the district, which is nice.
great, great.
And the
Okay,
new special education, um, the person in charge, Nancy Koch, she's really awesome. So
yeah,
it seems like she's got her feet on the ground running, and she's really like taking care of a lot of, you know, stuff. So it's
great.
good to see, nice to see that interaction.
Yeah, great, great. All right, well, that's good to hear. Okay, great. Um,
And then I just have a handicap parking update
okay,
from the entire fiscal year last year. It looks like the total handicap parking fees collected was $7,389. Um, I have a list of all of the tickets that were paid, but I didn't count them, and it's not itemized by number, so I can look more into that. I have not had a chance to connect with Rich Jones personally, to have a conversation about that pilot program on State Street, or not, was it State Street? Yeah, by
yeah,
the library. So
yeah,
I'll follow up on that, maybe in January.
okay. Yeah.
Um, and
So, do you think that, I mean, I'd like to, I'm curious what the numbers maybe have been over the course of the last few years, because does that seem like not that much?
I think I would have to look back. I do have all the numbers, so I would just have to look back and kind of compare. I think it's probably average. It looks, just by looking at the list, it looks like most of the fees are the $100. Some of
Right,
them are 105, which I'm assuming is a late fee.
right.
Some are 10, and some are 20, and some are 50. So
Ooh,
I'm not sure if those people negotiated something.
okay.
There's a couple of, you know, one or two random ones that are 25. There's one that is 19, so I have no idea how that would be. So, you know, for the most part, it's 2 full pages of a printed out Excel spreadsheet, front
Right.
and back of one side of one piece of paper. So I'll do a little more comparison and kind of figure. I do have the first quarter for July, August, and September of fiscal year 2021, and that total is 1805, $1,805. So I think that's about average per quarter, I think.
Okay. All right.
Um,
So people can negotiate.
you know,
Well,
Sean, I really don't know, but I know the parking clerk, Rich Jones, has jurisdiction to waive a fee. If, for example, a kind old lady comes in and says, "Oh my gosh, I forgot to put my placard up and I got a ticket. Is that okay?" Which, I'm not a kind old lady by any sense of the imagination, but has happened to me once. One of my PCAs took my kids out and forgot to put the placard, so I had to go and eat crow and say, "My PCA forgot to put the placard in the wheelchair van," and he does, you know, take consideration for those offenses and waive them. I'm not sure on why the fee amounts would be adjusted, though. Jenny?
yeah, that might be something I would like to inquire with him about. I mean, I know he does have that jurisdiction and that, discretion. But I'd like to know, maybe Kristen, you could ask him when you do have that conversation with him,
Yeah.
just, what that you notice some of the fines were, strange numbers like $19, and what would a
Right.
$20 or $25 fine before? Like what
Right.
would,
Yeah, I can certainly ask.
I don't know. It'd be worth finding out why there isn't a little more consistency there. I mean, if he's going to, take into consideration this and that and make those sort of discretion decisions, we might want to talk about a sort of maybe a minimum standard, or a sort of set of guidelines of what's okay to sort of dismiss, and what maybe should have a small fine attached. I mean, just something so maybe he has a little more structure to go by, if that makes sense.
Right. I mean, my guess is he must already, because the few that are sort of anomalies from the $100 fine
Mm-hmm.
are mostly 50, 20, 25,
Right.
except for that one that's 19.
Right.
Um,
Well,
So
yeah.
there's nothing firm. There's
What?
nothing firm at parking in a handicap spot, like the state
there
law.
is, yeah, there is. The fee for first offenses, it's city ordinance, so it's $100 for your first offense, and it's $200 for your second offense.
All right.
We have the purview to approach the city council and ask that first offense be raised to $200, and the highest possible fine is $300. That's a state parameter.
Right.
We didn't do that, but this data will will be useful for doing that, because back when I started on the commission, I think, Jenny, right, several years ago, the fee was like $25 for parking in a handicap space.
It was outdated, even for what the state was actually. The state had mandated that a minimum fine be $100 and a maximum of $300, and most cities adopted the $100. But it was like an automatic thing. So tickets were being written for $100, but on the books it said $25 still.
Right.
So when we approached the council to raise it, they weren't comfortable having the ordinance jump from $25 to $200 or $300. So that's why we had ended up with okay, well, how about second offense is $200? Can we at least have that? Because we have to do something. So but as we gather this data, we can reapproach them. I'm hoping within the year, this coming year, not 2020.
This fiscal year, anyway. Yes.
To finally do that and just go for the max, because if we have the numbers to show that this abuse is not something that is going away, or
I don't think that it's decreased at all.
decreasing.
I don't know that it's increased either, but I don't think that it has decreased. So I don't know that the $100 fine is really discouraging people.
Exactly. So,
No.
And I,
if they're going to get $25, if they're going to end up paying $25, then sure, they'll park right in the front of Market Basket on Thanksgiving weekend or something like that. Yeah. I see people parking in spots all the time everywhere, and it just frosts me. And
yeah,
I was going to ask folks, what we should even say.
I'm not out much because I just am not, but when I am, if I see, I scout the handicap spots whenever I'm out. I think most of us do at this point, just to see. And when I see someone that's not supposed to be there, I call the police every time.
Right. Yeah.
Every time.
I have as well. And I think depending on how fast their reaction time is and how busy they are and what else they have going on, right?
It's like, I still do it though, because they can, then at least maybe, you know. And I'll confront people too, you know, if I see them, you know, pulling in, and I'll say to them, hey, that's a handicap spot. But that's a different element, and not, you know, many people want to deal with confrontations. But you know, people are just it hasn't decreased. So
No.
need a stronger discouragement. And, you know, getting hit with a $300 fine is definitely you're not going to do it again, you
Right.
know. So that is something I do want to revisit in the new year. So as that's, you know, like this is the data that we're collecting, and that's good. And I'm really glad we're getting it at this point.
Right. And unfortunately, it still doesn't tell me, and I have gone back and forth with them several times, but I will track some more information about how we can get this. It still doesn't tell me how many tickets are outstanding. I'm assuming that not everybody who gets a handicap parking ticket pays it. So there's got to be some that are outstanding. Do they go to collections? Do they go, the reports that I get are actual dollars that are paid.
Right.
So they're not just tickets that are issued. So I'm assuming that there are some, maybe not a lot, but there has to be some that are still kind of floating out there that I would like to know just for data purposes.
Yeah. Don't let that one go. I mean, keep
right.
after.
Yep. No, I have notes on that for sure.
Okay. All right.
So,
And one last thing.
of course.
Jenny, you've recommended that I call before, even before I was on commission, which I
Right.
have. I mean, I could do that once or maybe twice a week. Do you want that? I mean,
Sure.
that's how much I see.
Yeah.
So, okay, I have no problem as long as it's okay with the commissioners,
Yeah.
my colleagues here.
It's something that I recommend to anyone, anywhere. I mean,
Right.
because it's all you can do.
Jenny, is there a way to contact parking enforcement, or is it just calling the police?
It's definitely quicker to call the police, because
Okay.
the enforcement, like, there's not a direct number for them.
So you just call through to City Hall.
Yes, you got to have someone then get a hold of one of them through their, you know, talking devices, whatever they use, you know, what if they have phones or walkie-talkies, I don't know. But in my experience, it's usually I just call the police, you know.
I mean, maybe Sean, I wouldn't call 911, but I mean, I think certainly call the business line and just say.
Yeah, which I have in the past, and they did send police. So.
Good.
But I just don't want to be the new person on the commission and, you know, be like Barney Fife chasing people down. And
No. Don't ever hesitate. And, you know, when you call the police, you don't have to say, like, this is, you know, Sean from the Disability Commission reporting this. Like, you just, you know, report it like anybody would, you know. I mean, that's what I do. I don't, you know, say, like, who I am or whatever. Like, I just, you know, I'm just calling to report it, because that's all that we can do.
Yep.
You know.
Yep.
So, I mean, in terms of the public combating it, you know, it's see something, say something kind of thing, you know. They might not always get there in time.
Right.
But, you know, again, it's all we can do. So that you know, that's, so yeah, don't feel like you're stepping on any toes by doing that.
All right.
Step away, I say. Or Barney Fife away, whatever, either way, right? Okay, so any grant updates, Jenny, that you have for anyone that's on the agenda? ADA grant for 2021.
You know, it's the same as always, where it's, you know, don't call us, we'll call you. And I did email Nancy, and last I knew, she, you know, she hadn't heard anything. So I just know, you know, we were submitted, but we haven't heard anything back yet still. So no new news there, just that, you know, we submitted, but we don't know if we'll get
Right.
it. Or,
Okay. The last, actually, there's two more things. Institution for Savings expansion project, comments to the planning board.
right. So the last meeting that they had with the planning board, actually, was it the last? Andy, do you remember which meeting they had that?
The what?
What was what was the Institution for Savings recent meeting? Do you remember the date?
If you hang on a moment, I can confirm. One sec.
Do you remember which one I'm talking about? The one that I zoomed in on.
Yeah, the last one that you were at, that would have been, it looks like the 18th of November.
That makes sense. Okay, because I'm not sure if they had another one since then, or if that's going to be later. I'm not sure. Fell out of the loop a little bit, but anyway, yeah. So that I attended that Zoom meeting on behalf of the Institution for Savings, because we've held that position that we support their expansion project because it's going to result in accessibility inside the building.
Ginny, I'm sorry, I just wanted to apologize for correcting myself. The date of the meeting, just in case anybody was wanted to know, it was November 4th. Sorry.
Okay, November 4th. And have they had another meeting since then?
They have not had. There's been a continuance of the hearing. The next date is January 6th.
Right. Okay. Okay.
And
So
all the materials are on the website if anyone wants to take a look at the plans. And the recordings of the planning board meetings and the historical commission meetings, and whenever there's discussion of it, are generally recorded on the city's website. There's a link. So if you want to go back and hear the presentation or see the plans, feel free to do that. They can be lengthy meetings, but just to warn you, but there.
meeting I couldn't. And so I actually had to sort of wait till the next day to find out how what the outcome was. But that's right. I remember now it was basically a continuation. So they're up against quite a bit of
Opposition.
opposition. Thank you.
And that's all local abutting neighbors, right?
Yes, most part. Yeah, primarily anyway. But I did say my piece and just spoke on behalf of us and our support for their project and what it will mean for the community, people with disabilities and access. And including, and I mentioned including, not just for customers, but for potential employees as well, especially if they're going to be creating additional employee space. There's going to be additional hirings, and if the building is accessible, like it's not now at all inside, that all of that is, a very big positive for the community of people with disabilities. So that's why we support it, obviously.
Right.
So, but, unfortunately, my comments, in our position, it just, it doesn't, I don't really think that the planning board gives a damn, to be frank. And I'm just, Andy, I know you're part of that, all, but I'm gonna say it because
I'm not getting involved. That's fine.
That's unfortunate. Yeah.
But,
Well, I mean, hopefully it was heard and recorded and noted, and it's
noted. It puts the idea in people's minds that these projects, people have their perspective on what's important, and different things are important to different people. Obviously, the aesthetic and the exterior and all of that is what is the most primary, thing on people's minds. And, that's understandable, but at some point there has to be like a giving point where, I don't know. The project looked good to me. It didn't seem like out of place. It's a funky neighborhood as it is, mixed.
Is it still that did they revamp the plans for the,
a fair amount, quite a
Okay.
bit.
I'll take a look at it.
It's worth taking a look, yeah, because they really have, they've really done is a lot, and they've tried really hard to thoughtfully approach all of the issues that the opposition has. But I think ultimately it's still the height, and there's issues there because the parking has to be the way it is, and um, I think it's just the general scale of it is what is holding things up. But we'll see how it goes for them after their next meeting in January. But yeah, so that was just a quick update on that because they're still trying. So as long as they're going to still be submitting plans, we'll support their plans, and if it helps them at all, we'll be vocal about it. But also, again, I think it even if it kind of falls on deaf ears for the most part, the ears that do hear it, at least they're hearing it. Like at least someone's hearing it, even not if it's not everybody. So it's just getting the thoughts out there and the consideration for what these larger projects actually entail beyond just the exterior, like what it means for business to expand and, becoming accessible, being able to hire people with disabilities, being able to serve people with disabilities. I mean, those things should be considered for sure,
Right.
like that's, so anyway.
Yeah. Okay, if there's no further conversation about that, the last agenda item is the city website, our page needing updating. And sadly, that falls on my lack of follow-up. But I have had conversations by email with, I've already forgotten his name, Matt. Yes, thank you. And just have not had a chance, but that might, in the era of COVID and Zoom, that might actually benefit us, because if we can schedule something virtually, that might be helpful, and I can follow up with that. But if anybody has some time on their hands and wants to form a subcommittee on the website information, I'd love the help. So put that out there.
Well, we can definitely talk more about that when we have a fuller meeting.
Right.
Karen might be interested in helping, or Lisa. Do you still have that report we gave the city a while back?
Yes. That was
lift a lot from there and just add things to it.
And I revamped it. So that was for an annual report that was published several years ago. I want to say 2015.
Right.
And I think at the end of last fiscal year, I did kind of a year in review. So I'll look for those, and I'll kind of follow up with that. But yes, we do have all of those notes and everything.
Yeah, I mean, it just, maybe we can get some help for you.
Unfortunately. I'm holding on to my thread very, very, very tightly.
But I do want to, we got to make sure that they have updated the names on the site.
I had checked, and I think as of Karen's addition that it was updated, but I will double check and make sure.
Okay. Did you happen to notice if they took Chris's name off?
I did not notice.
Okay.
I think I can get out of full screen here and check right now. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't heard from him at all. since he said he couldn't do Zoom meetings, and I haven't heard, you know, I mean, I've kind of tried to ask him,
Mhm.
no. And I mean, I told him he was up for appointment, and you know, they sent him the information and he never responded, and you know, he didn't respond to the emails that that Donna M sent him. And so, you know,
So I just pulled it up. The
he's a member technically.
so oddly, Art is still on, Karen is not, and Chris is gone. So I will follow up with Matt
Okay.
next week. That's strange because I thought Art was taken off quite some time ago. So I wonder if something happened that maybe something reverted.
Great. I wonder, because yeah,
And
I could have sworn
and
I was taken off when he left.
ironically, Lisa, if you click on Lisa's, it tells you you can click on Lisa, which is strange, but then it doesn't, nothing happens. It just kind of shows that she's an active member, but none of the rest of us have the little clickable thing. So I'll get in touch with Matt and follow up and put some time into this. But if anybody else wants to jump in and work with me on that, that would be awesome.
Well, we'll bring it, we'll just, you know, we'll keep it on the table, and
Yeah.
you know, we'll just keep talking about it until it, you know, we figure it out, and that's fine.
Yeah.
So
So I think that's everything on our agenda, unless there's other business that's not, this agenda that I'm looking at was printed from November. So did you update anything for December? Okay.
anything, because there really hasn't been anything newsworthy. So what time is it now?
5:35.
Thank you. Sorry, I don't have a watch or a phone or anything. My computer's doing weird things today.
I don't know if that was, but thank you. 5:35. Okay.
5:35. Yes.
Do you have anything that you want to bring up or add or whatever?
Just, I walked the boardwalk, and I noticed how much in need of work that is in the future. For I know somebody must have went down there this spring, because there were lots of boards that were puffed way up and nails sticking up. I don't know. When I walk it, I just think that it's dangerous for some people.
Like the whole boardwalk or just certain sections?
Well, parts of the boardwalk. I don't think it's like been 15 years since they put the new addition, the new boards on, new planks. I don't know. I just feel like it's not even. It's kind of scary sometimes.
Right.
Just something to, nothing that action has to be taken, but it's something that I look at.
Yeah. And I bet you Lisa has some comments on that too. So maybe we could, we'll put that on the agenda for next month, maybe. Sean, if you remind me. And I don't know what's going on in the building department yet.
Jenny, you just read my mind. I just pulled up. I was just pulling up the building department to see if there was anything that was listed there as new information for us. But my understanding, and this is certainly no official understanding, but my understanding is that Gary Calderwood has returned as interim building.
This is Andy. I could probably clarify.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
My knowledge, which may be more recent than yours, they're still in the selection hiring process. They've made some interviews, but I'll have to defer to the mayor's office in HR and where they are with any particular offer or that process. But long story short, Gary Calderwood, the former building commissioner, and Peter Burnett, former building commissioner, are covering for the most part the gaps there. I think there's maybe a local inspector as well that's assisting them, but for the most part, they have been covering the gap in this interim period.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful.
I think basically, I would not bring anything to them because they're literally just trying to stay on top of all the inspections that are piling up in the building department. I know that much because I did talk to, I forget her name, but Andy, what's her name in the building department?
Barbara Pulaski.
Barbara. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she'd filled me in a little bit, and hopefully when they get someone hired, and maybe the ADA coordinator hat goes back to the building department, possibly. I don't know if it will. I don't know if Andy Egmont is, I mean, as far as I know, she's just doing this as a favor, to fill in the same way that Peter and Gary stepped up. So I think it's something that we can have on the agenda and we can talk more about, but we'll probably hold off on bringing it up to the city until they actually have a fully functioning building department.
So would the boardwalk fall under the building department, or would it be DPS because of it being public?
This is Andy. You're talking about the Central Boardwalk, correct?
Yep.
Yeah, that is actually the Waterfront Trust property. The city officials and public services sometimes help out with certain issues, but it's actually under the care and management and ownership of the so-called Waterfront Trust.
Right.
So there is on the website information of the folks you can contact. I think at this point, although I think Stephen Hines is the current chair, the best person I think to reach at this moment might be Wilbur Schenk, who is the vice chair, I think. So at any rate, if there's a question or concern about that, I know that they are looking right now at the boards and looking to replace them or update them, as best as possible, but to try to do it with the best possible material, with the best longevity and so forth.
Okay, so in that case, maybe
I didn't bring it up to the state. I just
No.
wanted to bring it up to
Right.
commissioners, just
No,
to
that's
go down
helpful.
there
I mean,
and
yeah.
check it out.
it's something that's is going to come up, and like I said, I'm sure that Lisa probably has very similar concerns, and so it is something that is going to come up. So maybe we talk to Andy and just ask her to reach out and find out what their plans are, or where they're things, because it's becoming a little dangerous and inaccessible. It's not too much to ask.
This is Andy. I also wanted to mention, because it might also be helpful to give you an idea of the timeline. Jordy Vining, who's the senior project manager in our office, he and I actually had a meeting not too long ago, maybe just 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, maybe, out on the waterfront to look at the boards with the Waterfront Trust, because they were looking into this specific issue. So he may also be a person, although questions for him are probably related to a technical nature. He was involved with some of the earlier work years back on trying to do some of that, the restoration of the boardwalk and the bulkhead wall. So he has some information on the actual wood that was used at the time. And so there was some discussion about that. But like I said, at the present time, maybe, Wilbur could give you the best idea of the timeline they're thinking about.
Okay, great. That's helpful. Yeah. I mean, at least if we know it's on the radar, then we know,
Yeah, that's great. That's good that they're being proactive.
Yeah. So, okay, cool.
Just another thought, in that it's now December, and it would be lovely to think that we're not going to have any snow, but everyone should kind of keep an eye on snow removal in your areas and make note of any issues that you notice. Or in the past, we have reached out to DPS and mentioned that the subcontractors should be very careful not to dump the big piles of snow in the accessible parking spaces or on the lines between the parking spaces. So just kind of it being winter, we should all be mindful of keeping an eye out for that.
Yes, good,
Um,
good call. And we can bring, and we'll mention that, we'll bring that up again too next month, when we have everyone here, because
right.
just in our respective lives. I have a fly in my, and it's unbelievable. I'm in a bit like the warmest in the house, and so in it's a porch room. So got a, yep.
He
He's
wants to be your friend.
yeah, we're in the meeting. Anyway, so
Okay, so I think that looks like everything.
Kristen, can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, okay. I had a quick question about the emails, the reminder emails for these meetings. Is it possible to get Andrew's the meeting link embedded somehow in the reminders? Because it just it throws me off. Always whenever I have Zoom meetings in the reminder email,
The
and
issue, I think, and Andy, you can correct me if I'm wrong. The issue that my understanding is that each of our links are personalized to us because we're panelists and not community members. So
Yeah.
what the best way I think is if you're using a Google Calendar or an Outlook calendar or any kind of electronic calendar, you should be able to cut and pay or copy and paste your specific Zoom link into a recurring calendar function. And then it will just pop up on your reminders with the link, because if we try to put it in the reminder email, we would have to list everyone's separately.
yeah.
I don't have, and so it would be something that, as far as I know, Andy doesn't have the capacity to email everybody every month. They're
Oh
individual.
no,
Right.
Yeah,
So
right. That's the absolute right, most efficient way of doing it. So just because we have so many board members, so we've asked everybody to just keep their email or paste it like Kristen said. That's what I think is the most logical thing, because the link is the same every meeting. So
okay.
Another suggestion, Brian, is that you can always just hop on the city website when you know it's our meeting and just log in through the public, and then Andy would just immediately promote you to the panel.
Oh,
right.
no, that's all right. I usually just go back to Andy's August 13th
I
email,
do.
and then I click on the link. I just thought there might be an easier way, but you've explained this to me before, and I just forgot.
Andy, I just am looking through the participant list, and I do see that Rich Tracer has signed in as an attendee. Can you bump him to panelist so we can?
Yeah, it's funny, as that conversation came
see
up, I
him?
said I usually check that list.
I did too.
Yeah.
I just thought the same thing. I'm like, I usually check right at the beginning, and I didn't, and now I just did, and I'm like, oh, Rich is here. Shoot.
How long have you been here?
I know. He's so he's getting signed on now, Jenny. It looks like he's trying to turn his Rich, if you can hear us, we can't see you or hear you, so you have to turn your video and audio on, but you should be promoted so that we can interact with you directly. Yay, there he is.
Hey.
Can you unmute yourself, Rich? Or maybe maybe Andy can. Andy, can you unmute Rich?
I can unmute, but he also has to unmute himself, which is something I can't control on his computer,
Okay.
if that's the problem. I can ask him to unmute, but he still has to figure out on his computer.
There we go. Looks like it worked. Rich? Nope. It looks like you're unmuted, Rich, but we can't hear you. No, we see that you're talking, but
yeah,
technology is great when it works. Sometimes when it doesn't, it's
a little like audio icon.
It looks like he is unmuted, so it might be something for his speakers or the laptop.
Is there
microphone?
Is there like a typing?
There is a chat. Yep. Nope. The chat is disabled. Sorry, I misspoke.
Yeah, no, we don't have chats on for public meetings because that can be
Okay.
problematic from the open
Yes,
meeting perspective.
I can imagine.
But it sounds to me like what I'm seeing is that Rich has a microphone on his computer because the Zoom is indicating there's a microphone connected, but we're not getting any audio like Kristen said, because usually the microphone icon would be sort of bouncing around a little bit, indicating to us that sound's coming from your end. So it looks like maybe there's an audio issue. And what I would suggest is, only because I think the commission doesn't have anything else on the agenda and it's not clear the mic issue is working properly. Might we do a test connection at some point? The commission can agree on that, or Rich, if you want to send me an email, we can just confirm a time just to sort of connect here and if need be, talk over the phone to try to figure out what the problem is on your end. But it looks like there's no audio coming through on that on your end.
Okay.
Great. Thank you, Andy.
Can you give a thumbs up if you caught all that?
Yep, he's nodding yes.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Were you with us most of the meeting?
Looks like he said
Said
no.
no.
Okay. Okay. Well, you didn't miss too much. We haven't heard back about the grant. I was hoping that you might have an update if you heard anything back from DiZoglio or Jim Kelcourse again, but you can definitely give us that update next month. But I did bring it up earlier in the meeting. I'm not sure if you were with us or not, but you can fill us in if you've gotten any further with that next month. That's fine. Hopefully we'll figure out your audio situation by then. If you can connect with Andy before then, that would be ideal.
That
Yeah.
was an okay. Good. He just gave an okay. Great.
Okay.
Okay, so I think that concludes our meeting. It is 5:50 p.m.
Okay. Well, we did stretch
and
good. Then I'm going to adjourn.
yep. Somebody want a second to move to adjourn?
I second that.
Okay.
Thank
Meeting
you, Brian. All right, see everyone in January. Have a lovely holiday season, however you celebrate, and Happy New Year 2021. Woohoo!
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
Go away 2020. And be well, stay healthy, everybody.
And if any,
Okay,
and
you too.
fellas, if any of you,
Oh yes, this is a very important announcement, especially for the gentlemen. Yes.
need any assistance wrapping gifts, I am donating my time to anyone that wants to bring me their gifts and paper, and I will wrap your gifts beautifully, and you won't have to mess around, and you won't have to get frustrated, and I get to ease my boredom and fill my love for wrapping. So just throwing that out there to you.
And you won't be Kristen at 12:15 a.m. on December 25th in her attic cursing, wrapping presents, because Jenny's going to have already done all of mine for me. So thank you, Jenny.
That out there, especially to the fellas, because I know not all men like gift wrapping. So really, even if you just have something special for your wife that you don't want to have to wrap all hideously, like hit me up, I'll wrap your presents.
You're a
How
good
about a
soul,
Porsche?
Jenny.
I bought a Porsche. Can you wrap a Porsche?
A lovely bow would work just fine, I bet.
Yeah.
Get a big bow on there, but you'd be surprised the things I can wrap. I've wrapped. I'm a pro, and I can wrap anything that the paper can fit around, even if it can't. I will take 2 pieces. So
That's awesome. All right, bye everyone. Be well. Thank you, Andy, for
Bye.
hosting us.
Bye.
See you
Have a
all
good
in
night.
January.
okay, bye.
Good night.